Hello everyone, welcome to Movement with Leslie. Today we are going to be focusing on mobility of our body, and all you will need is your mat and a yoga block. And if you don't have a yoga block, please don't worry about it. You can absolutely use just some area near you in your space. Please do remember that all of our bodies are different, and they're different sometimes. Several times a day our bodies are different. So if I offer something that's a little too sore or painful or just overwhelming and you don't understand it, please do not do it. It's better just to have your body feel good and not aggravate any kind of situation that might be happening. So the first thing we're going to do is come to our hands and knees and do cat and cows, because they're just a wonderful way to start with the epicenter of our body. So as you come to your hands and knees on your mat, if your knees are a little tender, which a lot of us do have a little bit of tenderness around the knee, you can always put a little fold in your mat and make your knees extra cushiony. But literally, we're just going to make a square shape with our body, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and we're going to begin to move our spine back and forth, rounding and swaying. So as you inhale, you're going to exhale, do that nice cat pose from yoga, where you tuck your tail and drop your head and round your back. And then you're going to drop your belly button towards the floor, and you're going to do the cow pose as you inhale. So we're going to go back and forth just like this and begin to warm up our body and basically turn it into a tall glass of water. Make it nice and fluid. Hopefully kind of work on some of the restrictions we might have in some areas. But the best part is just to feel good and have that strong mind-body connection. So you can do as many of these as you would like. We're going to do 3 more sets with a cat and a cow. 2 more cat, cow. 1 more nice cat and doing the cow. And then we're going to open up our knees wider and touch our big toes together. We're going to sit back in child's pose, maybe unfold that crease in our mat that we have for our knees. And as we sit back towards our feet, don't feel like you have to actually sit on your feet. If you can, that's great, but you just want to make sure you feel comfortable. A little bit of stretch there in the knees and the ankles, but also the ability to kind of sway your body side to side and continue to work on mobility, which this is very much about your hips. So we're swaying side to side here, and we're going to do 2 more sets. Round it off with 1 more. And then we're going to come back to our hands and knees, and we're going to begin to do the square shape again, but this motion is called the dog wag. So in the dog wag, your hands are wide under your shoulders, knees under hips, just like cat pose and down dog cow pose. But we're going to be doing side bends with our spine. So we're going to start to take our ear, shoulder, and hip and squeeze them all the way to one side. And then we're going to take our other ear, shoulder, and hip and squeeze that side of our body. And that will be our motion as we go back and forth. Lateral motion for your spine. Side bending is really good for stiffness. So we're going to squeeze and contract one way, but as we squeeze and contract one way with dog wag, we're stretching the other side, which is, it's like the best of both worlds. So we'll go side to side like this, and do 2 more full sets, and 1 more full set. And then we're going to sit back in child's pose. So walk your knees maybe just an inch or two wider, touch your big toes together, sit back in child's pose. Your arms are outstretched, and we'll just gently sway our hips side to side. Okay, great. So the next thing we're going to do is basically stir our pelvis in a big circle. So you're going to bring your knees a little bit more underneath your hips, but your hands are going to walk out much further in front of you, so they are definitely in front of your shoulders. And then you're going to start to take your hips and your pelvis and make a stirring motion, like your pelvis is a spoon, scraping the sides of a mixing bowl. And this is not only doing our hips and our lower part of our spine, but it's also kind of mobilizing our wrist and our shoulders and our knees. And as we come back towards our feet, we're going to go the other way. Make a big stirring motion with our hips. But if we feel like it's kind of uncomfortable, you can just take off a couple of repetitions and sit back in child's pose, or just be in child's pose. Child's pose is really great for your hips. Okay, one big stir here, one more, and that's what we'll all do. We'll sit back in child's pose, touch our big toes together, and gently sway our hips side to side. Good. Now, we are going to start to do a flowing motion of Cobra from yoga back to child's pose. And you can go as slow as you want, but you want to make sure that you feel no pain in the shoulder or in the back or your neck or any area of your body. And if you do, you're going to maybe make the wise decision to just stay in child's pose. But if you'd like to follow me, your hands are outstretched in front of you, and you're going to inhale your shoulders past your hands, slowly lower your body to the mat, have your hands by your chest, and tuck your elbows in towards your waist, and inhale, come up into a little bit of a cobra, and then sit back into child's pose. Okay, so we'll do that again. We'll inhale our shoulders past our hands. We'll kind of squeeze our elbows by our side as we slowly lower. Now, as you come up into Cobra, make sure you roll your shoulders back and down, and then sit back in child's pose. We'll do it again. So as we continue to do more and more, you focus on squeezing your glutes in your hips. Sit back into child's pose. Again, inhale your shoulders past your hands. Squeeze your elbows by your side. As you use your arms to press up into Cobra, you're going to make sure that your shoulders stay away from the ears. Sit back into child's pose. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale our shoulders past our hands. Exhale, lower. Inhale, press up into Cobra, and then sit back into child's pose. And we'll stay here and just rock our hips while we kind of take a reprieve after doing our Cobras. Okay, so this is about our feet and our ankles and our calf muscles. It's called a down dog, where we will be walking our dog. But this is kind of physical, so you might decide if you go into this position that you would rather stand up and just sort of prance through your feet. But down dog is where your arms are outstretched in front of you, your hands are wide, you curl your toes under, you come up into this upside down V position, and you pedal through your feet. You walk the dog. So this isn't a picture perfect down dog. This is basically about us pedaling through our feet, And as we look at our feet, we want to make sure we don't see our heels too much. And we'll do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Then we'll press both our heels down, give them a stretch for a moment, and then we'll put our knees back down on the mat. All right, so the next thing after that nice warm up of our lower legs is for us to curl our toes under, shift our weight to the balls of our feet, and maybe rock our body weight forward and back to kind of stretch our toes and stretch our plantar fascia and our arch. Okay, this is kind of strong. And then I'm going to finish up with this by putting my knees down and either sit back just a little bit with my hips or sit all the way on my feet with my hips. But this is a gigantic stretch for your toes and for your arch of your foot. So it took me a while to be able to sit on my feet. I worked my way little by little as I practiced till I had enough length in my, and just releasing of the stiffness in my feet for me to be able to do that. So be kind to yourself. You work with your body, so your body will like it and it will accept it. Okay, so now we're going to bring our right foot forward. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit of back of the leg stretch and front of the leg stretch. So the first part is we'll melt our pelvis forward, and then the second part is to stretch the back of the leg. So we'll go back and forth. We'll melt and stretch the front of the hip. There goes my puppy. And then we'll stretch the back of the leg. So we'll do that again. We'll stretch the front of the hip, and we'll stretch the back of the leg. Just when I don't want my dog to be rambunctious, she is. Okay, one more set. Wherever you are, make sure you stretch the front of the back leg and the back of the front leg. Okay, drag that back. Let's take our other foot forward and do the same thing. So we'll stretch the front of the hip, and then we'll stretch the back of the hip. And we'll go back and forth. And again, if you feel like your kneeling knee, the knee that you're kneeling on is a little uncomfortable, remember you can always put a crease in your mat. It's really important to feel comfortable with all of this. Okay, let's do one more set. We'll stretch the front of the back hip, and we'll stretch the back leg. And we'll drag this back, and we'll sit back in child's pose again. Lots of child's poses. Child's pose is not only good physically for our body, sitting back and stretching the lumbar and the hips and our knees and our ankles, but it's really good just mentally. It's a place where you kind of recharge your battery. All right, very good. Come to your hands and knees. The next thing we're going to do is a pigeon pose. So we're going to take our right knee in front of us, and we're going to put our right hip down on the mat. Okay, we're going to be really careful with the ligaments in our knees when we do pigeon, and if it feels really strong and not good, we're going to sit with our hip just like this on the mat. Okay, but once you do sit down, you're going to see if you can come all the way off of the mat with your right hip and square up to this right leg while you reach your left leg behind you. Okay, and then again, maybe just sway your hips side to side. Move things around. Okay, and then drag this leg back, and we're going to do that with our left leg. So we're going to take our left knee up by our left hand, come down on our hip, okay, and always remember that if this is really sore and uncomfortable for the knee, we're going to put the left hip back down. But maybe give it a try, lifting that off of the ground and squaring up to your left leg, and begin to do that sway of your hip while you stretch the right leg behind you and you stretch the left hip in front of you. So we'll go side to side just like this. Okay, so let's drag that back for child's pose. So we'll sit back in child's pose, relax. This is definitely a spot you can come to anytime you like. We'll sway and keep working on getting more and more range of motion with our crease of our hips, the knees being really flexed, and our ankles being really open. Okay, so this is about our upper body. We're going to stretch our shoulders. So what we're going to do here is take our yoga block. We're going to put it in front of our right shoulder, nice and vertical. We're going to put our right elbow on top of it, and we're going to drop our head and chest and pat ourselves on the back and stretch multiple groups of muscles that surround our arm and surround our shoulder, and also kind of navigate down into our upper back. So we'll hold this for 3, and we'll hold this for 2, and we'll hold this for 1, and we'll go to the other side. So we'll move the block over, we'll put our left elbow on top, we'll drop our head and chest and pat ourselves on the back. And we'll stay here and breathe and hold this for 3, and hold this for 2, and hold this for 1. Good. And then we'll take our arm down. Excellent. And we'll stand up on our knees for a second, move the block out of the way. And we'll do a little bit of stretch for this area of our shoulders and chest. So we're going to interlace the fingers behind our back, and we're going to straighten our elbows. And the first thing is you're hoping to do is straighten your elbows. Okay, so if this is like really challenging, that's great. That's what you're going to work on, is just straightening the elbows. Okay, if you have your elbows straight, could do a little bit more. You're going to squeeze the heels of your hands together. Okay, so if you have your elbows straight and you squeeze the heels of your hands together, maybe you'll elevate your arms a little higher behind you and deepen the stretch in the front of your shoulders and arms and chest. Okay, finally, going for the full chest expansion in yoga, you're going to flex your hips and knees a little bit more, and you're going to put the top of your head onto the mat, and then lift your arms up into the air, okay, but not where it's overwhelming and you're holding your breath, but that you can relax, breathe, hold the stretch for 3, and for 2, and for 1, and then come back up. Good, and release your hands. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to come down all the way to the mat onto our abdomen. So we're going to come all the way down, and we're going to make a goal post with our left hand off to the side of us. Okay, our right arm and right hand is going to come by our chest. so that we can push with our right arm. Our right leg is going to lift, okay? And we're going to roll to the left side of our body, and our eyes will go to the right. And we're going to stay here and stretch the front of our left chest. Okay, so you don't have to go big, not too deep. You want to be able to relax. Hold this for 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then ease down with that leg. Okay? So now we make a goalpost with our right arm, and we take our left hand by our chest, and we lift the left leg, and we start to roll to the right. Okay, and as we hold the stretch, we breathe, because these muscles are intimately linked to our ribs and part of sort of the breathing process, and sometimes they kind of take over the major muscles that help us breathe. So we'll kind of put them to sleep here a little bit, stretch them out. Take another breath, and then we'll ease our way back. Good, and while we're here, this is a perfect position for thread the needle. So in thread the needle, your right arm is sort of in front of you. Your left arm slides under your chest and your palm is up. Perhaps I'm going to switch really quick so that you can see this. So my right arm threads under and the palm is up, and then I'm going to lay on it without any super pinchy, uncomfortable feeling here, that if you can relax into it. It may be really stretchy, but you can relax into it, and then look to the right. Okay, and as you're laying on your arm, you'll feel the back of your shoulder, maybe a little bit in the front of the shoulder. But if you feel anything kind of really sharp and uncomfortable, you will definitely come out of it. We'll hold this for 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so press up with your left hand, slide that out, take your your left arm across your chest, start to lay on it with your body, and then look to the left while you stretch the back of your left shoulder and the left shoulder blade area and your upper back. And you also might feel some tightness right here in the front of your chest where your shoulder meets the chest. But that's normal. You just don't want it to be really painful or really uncomfortable where you're holding your breath. So we'll hold this for 3, and 2, and 1. Good. Now, bring your right hand so that it presses you up. Lay down. Take your hands by your chest so that you can push up into a little bit of a cobra and go back to child's pose. So you'll inhale here, and then you'll exhale. Bring yourself back to child's pose and stretch out your hips and your back. Sway your hips a little bit. Okay, great. All right, so what I want you to do from here is to work on much bigger regions of our area, of our body. So you're going to sit on your left hip. You're going to have your left hand a couple of feet away from you, a little bit in front of your shoulder and body. You're going to have your right hand a little closer to the hips and legs, but you're going to straighten your left leg under your right, and you're going to bring your right foot over in front of your left knee and thigh. Now this can be quite challenging just to bring your right hip like this. So you can grab your ankle with your hand and hold it. If it keeps kind of like slipping, just grab it and hold it. And this is about us finding, as we kind of rock back and forth, a really big stretch all along the side of our body, from our armpit all the way down towards the knee. Okay, and when I first tackled this stretch, it was so strong. I came down on my forearms, and that was pretty much the best place for me to be for a while. So if you're up here and this is just incredible, come down on your elbow and forearm and try that, just to take a little bit off of the intensity, and just have your body like it and accept it. So we're just kind of rhythmically moving, giving our body a little bite as you go back and forth, rocking your shape. Okay, 2 more, and 1 more. All right, so let's do that to the other side. So you can come down on your forearm, or you can start on your right hand. Okay, you'll have it a little bit away from you. Your left hand's a little closer to you. You'll straighten your right leg and cross your left leg on top. And again, you can grab your ankle and hold on to it so it doesn't slide away. And here we go. We're going to rock our body weight forward and back. Each side of your body is totally different. So what your job is right now is to find out where you feel the most of the stretch and be able to breathe. So it's different from my other side. I actually feel like it gets a little tighter down here. So I'm going to roll forward and I'm going to hold this a little bit. Okay, and you might just rock back and forth. We're all different. We are not exactly the same. Not one person is the same as another person with their body physically. So it's important to figure out what works for you. And breathe here for 3. And breathe here for 2. And 1. Okay, very good. Now let's go back to more just legs. This is called frog in yoga. And what I want you to do for this particular stretch mobility is to come to hands and knees, but then begin to walk your knees wider than your hips, okay? And come down on your forearms. Okay, so this is a big inner thigh stretch, and I want my ankles to line up with my knees, and I want to maybe rock my body weight forward and back to give my body little bites of that big inner thigh stretch. So you'll notice when you rock back, it gets really strong. But you're going to make sure that you don't push it. That yes, you kind of shift back and then you rock forward and you shift back, but it's pleasant. Okay, so we'll do 3 and 2 and 1. Very good. Okay, so we'll press ourselves up with our arms, bring our legs closer together, and do child's pose again. We'll sit back and kind of rock our hips side to side. Okay, so swing your legs around and have a seat. Give them a shake for a second. All right, so we're going to do some rotation of our spine. Okay, and this is quite strong. So you're going to just modify, maybe do a little bit and then come back out of it. You know, you're going to make sure that you're not overdoing it and then have maybe some aches and pains the rest of the day or tomorrow because it was just a little too much of a stretch. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is cross our right knee over our left knee, or excuse me, our right foot over our left knee. And we're going to bear hug our left knee with our right arm. So switch that. Our left arm's hugging our right knee. Okay, and this is a big hug. So you could just use your right hand to help with that, or you could take your right hand just behind your hips and push the heel of your hand into the floor and look over your shoulder and hold this and breathe. Okay, so you're about twisting as much as you can to the right while you're hugging and stretching glutes here in your right hip. Okay, so we're going to keep looking with our eyes over our shoulder. Keep looking and try to look the most and breathe steady. Okay, let's switch legs. So we're going to hug our left knee with our right arm. You can either keep your left hand here and turn your body and look over your shoulder, or you could take your left hand, put it behind your hips, sit up nice and tall and look over your shoulder. But we're all about twisting. So we're going to look more, and we're going to look more, and we're going to look the most with our eyes behind us. Okay, good. Unwind. Uncross your legs and give them a shake. Okay, fantastic. Now we're going to sit crisscross with our right leg forward. And if this is uncomfortable, you can sit in a chair. You can sit in a chair. You could also sit on a bench. You could sit on a yoga block. Okay, and that would help a little bit with your hips and knees. Okay, so we're going to work some with our neck and a lot of the muscles that tend to get a little tight just from posture, from stress, of course, and things like that. So what I want you to do is take your left palm, and I want you to sit on your left palm with your left hip. So you're sitting on your palm and you feel that bone, that left sitting bone right on your hand. Okay, we're going to sit up nice and tall. So I feel my shoulder really starting to be drawn down, and I'm going to tuck my chin, and I'm going to tilt my right ear to my right shoulder. Okay, but I'm tucking my chin, I'm trying to stretch up tall and tilt my right ear to my right shoulder. So we'll hold this for 3, and we'll hold this for 2, and we'll hold this for 1. Okay, very good. So bring your head back and ease your arm out, okay? And then do this second stretch for the left side of your neck. Pretend like you're holding a cup of soup in your right palm. You're going to take the cup of soup to the right a little bit, and you're going to turn your eyes to look. Okay, your head and your eyes stay right there, but your right hand becomes behind the head and starts to gently pull your face towards your armpit. Okay, and when you feel a nice stretch on the left side of your neck, you're going to hold and breathe. For 3, keep your body nice and lifted. 2, and 1. Okay, release your right hand, bring your head up and come back to the center. Okay, so recross your legs. Sit on your right palm. Sit up really tall and feel your sitting bone right on top of your hand. And then take your chin back, it's almost like you're trying to make a double chin, and start to tilt your left ear to your left shoulder. So if you're kind of short with muscles in your neck and upper shoulder area, it'll be like almost a very little tilt. Like for me, it's a very little tilt, but it's a massive stretch and it feels good. It doesn't feel painful, sore. It feels good. And we're just going to hold this for 3 and for 2 and for 1. Okay, and then bring our head back and ease our hand out. Okay, now here's the cup of soup in our left palm, and we turn it to the left and we look at it with our eyes. So our head and our eyes stay right there, and we take our left hand and we begin to gently pull the head towards the left armpit. And when you feel that really nice stretch on the right side of the neck, a little bit behind your neck, but it's on the right side, you're going to hold it for 3 and for 2 and for 1. Good, and then ease that down and release. All right, good deal. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 things lying face up on the mat. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do, and we don't need the yoga block for this, the first thing we're gonna do is lay down. I'll move this out of the way. And we're going to have either our legs together or maybe a little bit apart, but we're going to start to point our feet and then take our arms over our head, and we're going to try to reach to the opposite sides of the room with our limbs. So I'm really reaching with my fingertips, I'm really reaching with my toes, and I'm taking very deep breaths into my belly, really big draws of air into my belly, and then exhaling them out. All right, great. Now, keeping the arms where they are, this is about reaching with our arms and our legs to the opposite sides of the room, but also trying to press our low back into the floor, okay? So while we're reaching, I'm kind of tucking my tailbone under and I'm pressing my low back into the floor, okay? And I'm gonna hold this and breathe for 3. I'm really tightening my abs. 2. And I'm breathing 1, reaching, reaching, reaching. And then I'm going to relax. Okay. Roll to your side for a moment. Come up. Just take a quick look at what I'm going to do to show you exactly where the block goes. So I'm going to be lying back down, and I'm going to have the block on my rib cage, on my upper back, going through my shoulder blades. Okay? So I'm going to ease my way down. Now my hands are going to come behind my head. My yoga block's a little bit zigzag, so I'm going to straighten that out. And I'm going to put my hands behind my head so that my neck doesn't strain trying to touch the floor. And I'm going to look at the wall behind me with my eyes, and I'm going to take several deep breaths while I stretch the front of my chest, my shoulders, and my body. So 3 deep breaths all the way down to your belly. Blow it out. 2 more. One more. And you might feel like you can take your hands away from your head, but you don't have to. And just be completely relaxed here. Just go limp. Continue to breathe deep. Stay here for just a couple more seconds. Okay, we'll all be careful as we roll to the side. Bend your knees first. Let's bend our knees first. Let's roll to the side. Let's slide our yoga block out. Let's keep our arms out to the side of us, and we'll just do a couple of windshield wipers with our legs. And we'll roll to our side once we stack our knees to one way, and we'll push ourselves up. Good. And we'll just give ourselves a moment before we hop up and dash into the rest of our day.